Hello and welcome to the Roll and Reflect podcast, the podcast where we bring you insights from behind the tabletop and beyond the box. I'm one of your hosts, Mark, and sadly, Devin is away this week. But we have a special guest who knows a thing or two about board game tables. Kevin Burkhardsmeier of Game Toppers. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey! So glad to be on the show. This is awesome. When I first heard you were doing Roll and Reflect, I thought, oh, this is perfect for Mark. I am so happy that you are doing this.
Yeah, I'm having a really good time with the show. It's been really fun. And Devin we just have this immediate rapport. It's been such a good time. So yeah. And thank you for being here. We're trying to get as many people into the podcast as we can, and just do specific episodes. Devin really wanted to be here. He apologizes, but hopefully next time. So in this episode, obviously, if you haven't figured it out already, we're talking about Game Toppers and the new Kickstarter. But before we get into it, my good friend Anne has a reflection question that she would like to share.
Hey guys, Anno here with your question of the week. What are your thoughts on the future of board games? And how do you see Game Toppers contributing to or influencing that future?
Thanks for that great question, Anne. I really appreciate it, my friend. All right, Berkey, what do you think? We can both talk about this, but I think it's geared more towards you.
Yeah, it's really interesting, to see how Game Toppers are going to contribute or influence the future. I think of what we've done already and how it's made such a huge impact on how people play board games now. And the opportunity to have an affordable, high-quality board game solution that's portable and that has all kinds of flexibility and variability with different accessories, mats, so forth. But I'm always thinking about the future and how can we get better? So that means, okay, well, we have to follow the trends in the gaming industry. What's happening and how can we continue to enhance that? How can we develop new markets? How can we make our product better? How can we make it more accessible, more affordable? And one of the things that's outside of just talking about the product, I've always had a desire and a goal for Game Toppers that we can influence the hobby and just people in general in a positive way so that we can help different organizations. We can help things. And as we are successful, that allows us to do more things for the community. And we do a lot of things with Extra Life and conventions and different people that are in need. And those things are very important to me and they really fuel me. So that's always in the backside of, I don't think about, it's just all about making money. You need to make money so you stay alive for everybody, but it's really about something greater than that for me.
Definitely. I love that. And I also think that, the influence is that so many publishers, this is like the ideal table to have at a convention because it's so easy to bring and set up and demo games on, right? The other thing I'm just curious about for the future, what kind of I'm a tech guy, so what kind of tech can be put into these tables to,
it's really interesting because we've been exploring a lot of things regarding lighting, camera usage. There's possibilities of digital implementation of different things in the future too, with boards that are going to be digital. So there's things that are starting to twinkle out there about that type of innovation.
Definitely. That's really cool. Well, that's a great question. Thanks again, Anne. We appreciate it. Well, let's get to our main topic, which is straight up Game Toppers. First off, I have to say Game Toppers is something I just love because it is made for me doing Dice Tower previews so enjoyable because I have a really nice setup for filming. And on top of that, the play mats are so good that I can swap them out and kind of theme the table to the game that I'm talking about. So I love these systems. But for Game Toppers, can you give us a brief overview and what is your mission in general?
Yeah, well, just to tag off of what you just said really quick too is I'm so grateful for you, Mark. Right from the very beginning, when we started you at Board Game Corner and you were starting to do previews with Dice Tower course and things like that, but you were one of the earliest adopters getting one of our first Game Toppers. Yeah. And I remember your dad and you taking that old Duncan Fife table, gluing it all up and painting it and actually being at your home and seeing it, how amazing that looked. And then as our company evolved, we started feeding you new things, new
Yes.
mats and all that. And every time you're the most enthusiastic, excited. Oh, you got that Vincent Dutray Lost Worlds.
Yeah.
I gotta get that mat.
I gotta get that. Yeah, definitely. I just love the fact that I get to, because I'm heavy into theme, right? So I love that I get to theme my videos with the play mats. It just adds that nice extra little touch, I feel like,
Well,
and I have to also say that I have one of the very first original tables, and it's still obviously holding up and working really well. No problems. It's just phenomenal. So yeah.
Well, and that was really the desire, when we talked about Game Toppers, we started in 2017, and we're going to talk a little bit about the inspiration really behind it was all about gaming. How do I upgrade my gaming experience? When I got into this hobby and saw what was happening, I immediately got the acquisition disorder, and I had to have all the new games. I'm listening to the Dice Tower top 100s, and, it's, I got to get that game. I got to get that. But then at that time, back around 2014, where I really started coming in about 10 years ago in the greater hobby, if you will, Geek Chic was the company out there that had these gorgeous wood tables. I love them.
Weighed a million pounds.
Oh, they were great. But that was the problem. They were $10,000.
Oh, yeah.
And it took 2 years to get one. So it wasn't accessible. They were gorgeous. At being a craftsman, I thought, well, I can build that. And so we started that thought process. I designed a table, and my dad and I built this beautiful hickory table with outdoor thematic elements. And it was really cool. Well, then my two oldest daughters got married, and they moved about 40 minutes away from us. And we would go up there on Wednesday nights and have game nights and play. And I got thinking, how do I take this experience that's so cool, having a dedicated table, right?
Yes.
And I thought, how do I make a portable version that I can take over there? We can set up on their dining room table. And I made a prototype. It kind of sucked, to be honest. It had a really big hinge in the middle, and I had a piece of carpet for a play mat, no cup holders.
I don't think I've seen this. I'd love to see pictures.
Oh, I still have this one in the basement, actually. It's funny. I sold it to a friend of mine for almost nothing. And then he goes, I think you should have this back. And he gave it back to me, and I have
it. You can put it like a museum piece now, right?
Yeah, it's like a little museum piece. Yeah. I'm excited what happened with that process of making 3 more prototypes. All of a sudden, it worked pretty cool. And I thought, wow. Now, I knew the problem was custom crafted wood products are very expensive. The cost that goes into the wood, the labor to do it well, all of that. Cost of a table is not in the legs. It's in the top. Right. It's in that part of the finishing and all of that. Well, how could we make this affordable? I talked with some manufacturing friends of mine. I owned a successful computer company. We did networks for this manufacturer, and I went to him with my prototype, and I said, Scott, you're going to think I'm crazy, but there's this thing happening in the board game industry. What? Board games? Yeah. I said, I know. I know. But believe me, something's happening. The holy grail of a gamer is to get a game table. You know, and he was a fisherman. I said, you want to have a really nice fishing boat, right? That's your hobby. Well, this is the way it is for gamers. So if we can do something really high quality and we can make it accessible price-wise, I think there's something here. And boy, did I have problems. Boy, did I have all kinds of obstacles to overcome. People told me it'll never work. I mean, just all kinds of strange stuff happened that I should have quit. Thankfully, we didn't. But, Scott goes, man, we don't ever get prototypes like this. We get napkin drawings, Well, we worked with their engineers, and we developed the military-grade aluminum extrusion, which is a super hard aluminum that maintains tolerances. But we were able to design it in a way that it provided this feature of being able to connect 2 halves of the table together. So it easily sets up a connector cleat, card slots, a really high quality floor system that doesn't move, even on little plastic folding tables. This cross support engineering, it just worked. And we went to Gen Con that year. I spent $30,000 of my own money that I didn't have, borrowed some from my brother-in-law to see if it would work. I didn't want to go to crowdfunding, which was very new at the time, but without a proven product, I didn't feel that was fair to people. I don't want to take their money unless I know I can deliver. Right. So that's why we took that approach first. I made 60 of these toppers at this horrible price, and I sold them to a bunch of my friends and publishers in the hobby for half of what I paid.
Wow.
I don't even remember if you partially bought one of yours or if I gave it to you. I can't remember.
You just gave me mine. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, real quick, it's worth mentioning. It was such a amazing thing of you to do, because I was going to buy one, but I had just lost my tech job. And you were like,
I remember now.
Yeah.
That's right.
And you were like, oh, well, you still have to have this. And I was just blown away. So thank you again.
I remember that now. That's right. I was very grateful for so many friends in the hobby, Chaz Marler and Dan King. And I mean, we had so many friends in the hobby, and 18 publishers had our toppers in their booth at Gen Con in 2017. It was just amazing. We went around and did first impression little video clips. Hey, what do you think about playing on a game topper? What? What is this? It's on a folding table? Yeah. Well, how much is it? Well, we're targeting somewhere around $500 to $800 ish.
Yeah.
And where do we get it? I want one right now.
Exactly.
And it was overwhelming. Everybody said that. Designers said it. Publishers said it. They were like, why didn't anybody think of this? And it was so encouraging. We went to crowdfunding and we raised $500,000 and we delivered within the year, which was really remarkable at the time. Even now, it's even more so remarkable to deliver that quickly.
Yeah, no doubt.
But people just love the product. And then we were able to innovate the product, continue to add a lot of different features. We can talk about some of that stuff later. But that was the whole origin story. And it was all about how do I make a nicer place surface to play games with my daughter?
And the beauty part of it too. Yeah, I was going to say the beauty part of it too is just because you can tear it down and put it in a closet. For those folks who live in apartments or small homes, it's the ideal setup, right? Because not everybody has room to have a full-time gaming table set up, right? So, I mean, that alone is a huge plus.
People, especially that have smaller homes, overseas, I find people in Europe and the United Kingdom, which we now deliver to, a lot of times their homes are smaller. They love that. I mean, we take half of our Watson, number one selling Watson topper, and I keep it in the camper. Well, it's called the Hudson. It's 30 by 38, but it's perfect for all those games we play while we're camping.
Yeah,
and it fits on the picnic table, and I put it off to the side. It doesn't take a lot of space. And
well, you know what? A little bird told me that you have a new campaign coming up. By the time this airs, the campaign will be in full swing. So tell us more about the Kickstarter campaign. And really, for me, I want to know what's new.
We're really pumped about this. This will be our 6th campaign, but it's called the Galactic 4.5 because we did a 3.5, which these were kind of the mid-year campaigns where we were introducing not like something as a total major overhaul type thing, and yet really significant, that we weren't just bringing one or two things. And on this campaign, it's called the Galactic 4.5.
Okay.
And what happened is on our last campaign, Game Toppers 4.0, one of the major innovations was the Designer Art Series rail system. Now we have we have two molds. We have the standard mold that has the powder coated aluminum, and that's beautiful, sleek. People love that. But we also have a luxuriant line that allows us to put in 1/2-inch material like premium woods, like walnut and oak and so forth. We've done sculpted wood inlays before. Beautiful presentation, a little more expensive, but beautiful. Then we started thinking, well, wood is really expensive right now. I love that. And we still may continue to offer wood products. However, if we could do something artistic that would be really creative and possibly interchangeable?
That's awesome.
So that's where all of that got going. We found an acrylic substrate that we could put in there just like the oak, and we could do a vinyl wrap graphic that's a high quality vinyl that's used for like vehicles. But then it has a heavy duty lamination that they use for floor graphics. So it's scratch resistant. It's UV protected. It won't fade. And the graphics and the sheen on this, it's got kind of a matte finish, but there's a sheen that is just gorgeous. And we did the Designer Art Fantasy D&D themed rails on our last campaign with Brent Woodside, a noted artist, has done a lot of work for Disney and Lord of the Rings. And that was really cool. And then this campaign, we decided, well, what about, there's so many amazing space-themed games.
Yes.
I mean, you're a big
I am a big sci-fi guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, I have a ton of those, Star Trek Ascendancy and, Twilight Imperium and all of those amazing
are so
space
fun.
games.
Yep,
Yeah.
I
love
them.
the theme. There's also a big audience out there in the miniature gaming community.
Sure.
That like Warhammer is basically a space theme, not Age of Sigmar, but Star Wars Legion.
Yes.
That has a huge following. X-Wing and Armada, now I know they're not being supported, but it's still going to be a huge audience still playing those games, right?
Yep.
So Jay Solansky, who is noted from a podcast called The Fifth Trooper, he has a big following in the Star Wars Legion community.
Right.
And a lot to do with miniatures, but he's a graphic designer, he's an artist, and he's a marketing guy, and he used to sell game mats. When he found our game mats, he goes, "Oh, these are so much better than the ones I'm getting." He said, "Can you make these?" And said, "Yeah, we can do that." And we ended up doing fulfillment for all of his mats for a little over a year. The relationship developed, the rapport was really good, and he's just a very talented individual. He was with us at the Origins game show, had this galactic Mycroft set up, and we're doing it in two styles: the Mycroft, which is 4 foot by 6 foot, perfect for miniature gaming, and the number one selling Watson now, which is a 38 by 60. That's what you have, is the Watson.
Yep, that's what I have. Yep.
This is, and you actually have the luxuriant because you have the wood inlays.
I've got the wood inlays. Yeah.
So that being said, this system, Jay developed the rails, which it's got this space theme, like you're looking out a viewport. It's subtle. When you walk in the room, you hardly notice it. So it's not like it goes, rah. And yet when you sit down on the table, you go, ooh,
what is this?
I like this.
I love it.
Oh, look at that. It's awesome. That was one of the big innovations. We're introducing more interchangeable rails.
Yeah, that's
we're still going to offer a rail kit for the D&D theme for those that would like that, for role-playing games and fantasy games. And then you can swap it out with a lot of the different mats.
Yeah, very cool.
That's one of the big deals. I know you're going to, you're a mat lover.
I am, because I want to theme everything. So
I sent you a text where I showed you the new Brent Woodside. Now,
cool.
Brent from buying some of his artwork or something, right?
So
this guy's amazing. Him and his wife are both artists, and Brent and Kayla, and they're just wonderful people, and their two little kids. They do a lot of the shows out there, but beautiful art. They do a lot of Disney, a lot of Star Wars, a lot of Lord of the Rings type of artwork, some Harry Potter stuff. They do all kinds of beautiful art. We would like a mat that matches your rails, something that really enhanced it. We have several mats that went well with it. However, we need one that's for role players with 1-inch square grids, with a cool dragon and some caverns and little Easter eggs going on. And I sent you that little preview that wasn't quite in Final Four, but what did you think about that?
Oh, it was so cool. And I know you're still tweaking things, but I loved all the little bits around the edge,
Well, we're super excited about that mat. But Jay also had 2 new terrain mats that are perfect for miniatures gaming. And
nice.
That's one of the things that this campaign is focusing on, is moving into providing products for not just board gamers, but also miniatures gamers and role playing and wargaming type products, because that's a huge audience that is something that we haven't focused on as much. We've been more general, and all of a sudden we recognize that, hey, there's an audience there that we need to do better for. We need to create some products that they would be excited. And Jay, being in that community, my son Josiah is also a big miniatures gamer. We started putting our heads together, and 6 months later, we came up with these 2 new terrain mats, which actually I think are the best graphics we've probably ever done. We've got some amazing mats, but when you see the detail, I'm putting out some little videos on social media on our Game Toppers LLC Facebook, but Sam Healy was at our booth, and he started looking at Berkey, you've never done this kind of quality like this. I mean, I love all of your mats. Your mats are so good, but the detail of these small assets, which is a slight change, we are creating these new terrain packs for miniatures gamers.
Nice.
This is so cool because we have a battlefield perfect for games like Warhammer and that type of thing, Car Wars and so forth. Gaslands.
Gasland, yeah.
The arid mat and the snowy grassland terrain mat itself, these assets match. There's a desert terrain pack that they have like 10 assets in there that are little obstacles, line of sight things. There's a Starfield one with that asteroids and planets and space stations. It's super cool. And when you see these graphics on these terrain packs, you just go, oh my goodness, the snowy grassland one that matches it, the tree pile that's laid down with the trees. And these are all hand done artistic art pieces from Jay. He just nailed it. They're so gorgeous. It's funny when you geek out about your own stuff.
Well, I mean, it's so cool, especially for tapping into that miniatures market or, Warhammer and those folks playing those type of games and then giving them terrain packs to put on top of the already amazing mats is just super cool. Great idea.
Well, and then you can still use your miniatures in cooperation with this or alongside. And then we did 2 road packs and a river system.
Oh, nice.
So now you can have terrain, you can have rivers, you can have roads. And Jay had his Star Wars Legion set up there on our Mycroft with the road going right through the city. And oh my goodness.
That's
Talk
so
about
cool.
Table presence.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And the Wargamers that came over there, we were by the miniatures hall in Hall C at Origins. I mean, they just came over and frankly, I was a little surprised at how enthusiastic they were. They just were, oh, I need this. How much are they going to be? And I said, well, we're working that out. What do you think they're worth? I just started asking people, what is this worth to you? How do you feel about it? And they were telling me $40 to $50 a pack. And I go, oh, I can do better than that. I don't need to charge that much. We have very limited quantity of these toppers, of the Watson and the Mycroft in the designer art. We may have to do a wave 2 for delivery later, but we're planning on doing goals to have these even delivered by the end of the year.
Oh, nice.
Which is crazy.
That is impressive considering a lot of board game folks spend a year or 2.
That drives me up a wall. And so we try to do a lot of work on the front end before we launch so that we can, it requires a little forecasting and a little bit of risk. I feel I owe that to the customers, and especially because this is a bigger purchase.
Yeah, it is.
You're buying a $50 game or, $100 game. It's still an investment, but it's not like spending $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 on something. And I feel I owe that to the backers. So I try to treat people like I want to be treated, honestly.
Agreed. Yep.
I hate that when I got to wait 3 years for a $300. I was so excited about it. And now by the time it gets there,
shows up, you're like, I don't even remember backing this.
I know.
Well, that's awesome. I'm really looking forward to all the new things. I'm always curious too to learn more about your development process. Like for mats, I mean, what's the process you go through, and what's the iterations that you have to go around back and forth with all the different mats and the tables themselves?
Well, thanks. It's a very thoughtful process. I might be even somewhat cautious and slow. Maybe I could innovate quicker if I didn't approach things this way, but it's the way I feel comfortable. I want things to be high quality. I don't want to just, if it isn't good enough for my table at home, I don't want to just, I'm not into just selling stuff. I want it quality. So that's always my first priority. Then I want it affordable. And that's always a challenge in manufacturing. Sometimes you can have a great idea, but it's just not affordable. It's not manufacturable unless you do tens of thousands of print runs or something. And that's the case here. The artistic side of things, I'm a creative. I've painted wildlife. I've done a lot of things in theater and music and things. So the creative side of me is what really helps me have vision for a lot of these products, incorporating what I know about the pulse of the board game hobby at the time. What things are popular, like Dune Imperium. Well, I just love that game, right?
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic.
Well, I need to make a Dune map.
Yes, you do.
So what do we do? We start that process.
Right.
I will sketch out a drawing, generally, have an idea. With our thematic game mats, like we just did all the artwork for this campaign. And when we put together our mat list, I was talking to my daughter, Hannah, who helps with graphics, and I said, "Do you realize we have 32 different styles of mats?"
It's amazing.
And they're all my babies. I love them all.
I mean, but it's a long ways from that red, that first red kind of and blue mats that you were putting in. A long ways from those.
The mat that we just did on our last campaign was the horror mat. We did 10 different mats, 5 thematic and 5 terrain, and they were all amazing.
Yeah.
Top name board game artists. I start the art direction. I do a drawing. I do a sketch. I contact the artist. We talk about the collaboration. We realize that the art has to be done in a bunch of different sizes because I'm not going to stretch art and make it look weird. We're going to do a separate piece for each one. Well, that requires extra attention when that art pieces are digitally formatted to begin with. Now, Vincent Dutray, one of our favorite artists that's done 2 of the mats for us, the Lost Worlds mat and the Great Wall, he actually paints on canvas.
Oh, wow.
Is that weird? And he lives in Korea and paints on canvas. Part of the year, this is a little signet, he can't paint because of the humidity.
Oh, okay.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that being said, those art assets have to be done separately. Well, that's very expensive.
Yeah, sure.
We spend a lot of money on our art. People don't realize you can buy a neoprene mat. You're getting something very special that we're putting a heavy commitment into. And when I work with the artists, we try to keep all of the assets around the very edge of the mat.
Sure.
So it doesn't interfere with the gameplay. There's a couple mats that have more things going on, but the palette blends so much that you don't really notice it when you're playing those board games.
Yep.
But we're always keeping that in mind to create this environment that is so immersive. So when you're playing a space game and you're playing on that space mat, and you see that moon up in the corner, you feel like you're in outer space.
Definitely.
Or the Starfield mat, or our new water mat, for instance.
Yes.
You've
that
got
water
a big
mat is awesome.
When you see that on camera, Mark, you're just going to be blown away how shimmering it looks.
I love it.
I'm so proud of the art. And oftentimes we're going back and forth. I will order print copies of this before we go to print, because what we see digitally does not always translate in the actual heat sublimation. And the type of products we use on our mat. Companies out there are promoting thickness of mats. And it's like, yes, thickness is okay. We don't want really thin, but you don't want a spongy mat either.
No,
you want
I hate
high density.
When it's like you push down and you leave imprints in the mat and then stuff is just super bouncy. I don't really like that.
Exactly. And ours are very heavy, like our Mycroft mat is almost 15 pounds.
Wow.
So a Watson mat, I think is around 11 pounds.
Yeah.
And that's because of that heavier duty density. But the benefit of that density is that they just roll out flat.
Yes.
I've got mats that been rolled in the box for 2 years or something, and you take it and it just lays flat.
Every time.
And they stay that way.
Yep.
Double stitched edge. It's not just a single stitch, it's a double stitch. So the back stitch is doubled. That means it won't come apart with abrasion. Non-skid backing, high quality, water resistant type of surface with the heat sublimation, and then precision cutting.
Yeah.
We go to several extra steps to have the mats precision cut.
Nice.
This means that they fit our toppers, and we are generally right on within 3 millimeter tolerance, and generally it's like less than 1 millimeter tolerance. That's because of the extra cost, the extra things that we do with laser cutting to create that environment.
That's super impressive. I mean, the mats are just something amazing to me because they're just always so vibrant, and for filming especially, I mean, obviously they're for playing, but for me, for filming, I just love how the colors pop and add so much to my videos. So thanks
so much. I'll tell you a really quick story about mats while we're there. We were just at the UK Games Expo, and 2 of our artists, one of them was Amber Scarf, and she is just the sweetest gal. She's worked with Vincent Dutray on the game Museum and other games. She's amazing. Love her to death, and just the sweetest gal. She did our nature mat that was, perfect for games like Creature Comforts, games like Wingspan, games like Concordia. I mean, it's Planet. I mean, they're perfect.
Yeah.
We love this mat. And she knocked it out of the park. She saw us at the UK Games Expo, and I was able to get her a mat and take pictures. And she was so people were just raving about it while she was just standing there. And then people didn't know she was the artist, you know, and she's
awesome.
just like all excited. Well, then John McCambridge, he's a professor of digital art. On our last campaign, he did our #1 selling horror theme game.
Right.
Last year,
awesome.
Our last campaign, that was the #1 seller. I thought The Nature was going to be #1, actually.
Really?
Or The Old West. I think you have The Old West?
The Old West is pretty nice. I like it a lot.
That's from Xavier Inkgolem, and he's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep saying amazing.
All the mats are really amazing. I still think my favorite might be the pirate mat. It just looks so cool. So many neat things around it for sure. I was going to say, and the Viking mat too, because of the water, just really cool. So
I was just going to say that pirate mat was the #1 seller when we introduced it.
Yeah.
That was from Yaroslav. It's still a really strong seller. And then before that, it was the Viking by the same artist. And that Viking mat is one of my favorites.
It is. It's so, again, so vibrant, you know.
Oh, I get so excited about those for whatever game we're going to play. But that horror mat, John had his family at the UK. And he had a son, which is really fun. His name is Fergus. Well, I live in Fergus Falls, Minnesota.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And so I'm telling this young lad this and just having a great time talking with me. And I went and got him one of our Game Topper medallions. These
nice.
Big 3-inch chunky medallions. You know?
Yeah.
And I gave it to him just as a gift. And this kid just beamed from ear to ear. And his mom and dad were just so proud. We had so much fun with them. Not only did we create something that was this mat is just amazing for Mansions of Madness. I know why it's sold so well. It's just beautiful. It's more than that.
Yeah.
It's about relationships. It's about these things that we're doing together in this industry.
Right.
Create these moments. That's why we do this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why you sit down at a table with a bunch of friends and family and to play games. I mean, that's the beauty part of it, as you know, very different than being even a multiplayer video game, right? This is the interaction and just the fun and the experiential type gaming. I love all that. So, you know, with this new campaign, one of the last things I want to ask about it is based on previous campaigns, comments from folks. Is there things that you're incorporated that people were really asking for? I mean, where do you take those comments and how do you digest them into the new thing?
Yeah, it's a great question. And we have a Facebook group called Game Topper Nation.
Yeah.
And I tell people this is just for backers. It's for if you have any issues with customer service, you contact us and you know you're going to get a hold of us. We're going to take care of you. But this place is just for sharing fun of the hobby, how you use your game toppers, blah, blah, blah. And I often go there and say, hey, what do you think about this idea? What do you think about this idea? What do you want to see happening? And so I do exactly what you're asking. I try to get feedback because I don't have all the answers. And
Sure,
I want to listen. I want to grow and learn too. And so oftentimes I might think something's a great idea and then it's not, you know. Well, it's helpful to listen to other people. And so I do my best to do that. And I can't always do what people want because generally some of the ideas just aren't manufacturable or we wouldn't have the volume to make it work financially. But on the other side of it, it stimulates me to get better and think about what could we do. Well, one of the things that is such a big problem, and this was through our Facebook groups, was mat storage solutions.
Yes.
It's a nightmare. I mean, we're buying all these Kickstarters and sure, we're going to do all in. We're going to get another 20-inch mat. We're going to get a 15-inch mat. We're going to get a 30-inch mat. They're sitting in a pile. They're getting all crinkled up and getting a goofy memory. So the things don't sit right on, our tokens don't sit right. Can't find them. We're getting tired of having so many mats. But I thought, how do we fix that solution? We started talking to them. We came up with this amazing mat caddy called the Baker Street Irregulars. Nice. A little Holmesian theme we threw in there.
All the Holmes themes anyway is just awesome.
Well, some people get it, some people don't. We think it's clever, but we might be wrong.
I love it.
But the Baker Street Irregulars, this is a mat caddy that has a backing that has Velcro on it. It has two handles, but it has grommets on the top and the bottom so that you can attach it to the back of a door with this hardware, or you can put it on a screw on a wall or all kinds of different things. But it also has these carbiner clips so that you can daisy chain these And you can put these 15-inch mat bags. These bags are patented window that's inside of so you can see which mat is in there.
Yes, which I love.
They're really nice mat bags, right?
Yeah.
They're very premium. We don't do cheap ones. Heavy duty zippers, double zipper too, just in case, little things like that. Well, you get 4 of these bags and they have the Velcro attachment on so that it just attaches. So you can take one bag off and one bag will hold 2 of the smaller 1 millimeter mats that a lot of little card playing mats are.
Yeah.
Magic mats, so forth. Or one of our heavier duty 3 millimeter premium mats fits in there nicely. You can actually fit 2, but it's just slightly tight with the 3 millimeter ones. That being said, you could have 8 mats in one caddy. It folds together with a Velcro, and you can take it to game night, or you can just take one of the bags off and take it and put it on the table, or take it to game night, or you can hang it on the wall. Well, you can add 4 of them so that thing can hold up to 40 mats on your wall. Well, guess what? People said, well, what about our bigger mats? We did all the mats for Foundations of Rome for Arcane Wonders. We did like 3,000 mats for them, double-sided mats for the play area, different orientation. Well, those were 24-inch wide by 32. Once you get larger, Velcro is not the right solution for the heavier mats.
Totally true.
We made a 26-inch Baker Street Irregular with elastic bands that it can go all the way up to the 36-inch wide mats you can put in there. And we put a stiffener, fiberglass stiffener in the top so it doesn't crinkle. The grommets are lined up so you can daisy chain it with the 15-inch version.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
So, and one of those things too, we have these mat racks. Do you have one of our mat racks?
No, I have the floor rack, right? That
holds the floor rack.
Yeah,
you have the 6-hole Lord Burkton?
I do.
Okay, we have that, and it has these rods that you can put your mats on. But then it also has, you can take these mat caddies and put it on the ends of these floor mat racks too. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So this all came from customer feedback, like cool. You asked, and it's find a need. Try to find an affordable, high-quality solution. That's what I'm always trying to do.
So I know we already touched on this a bit with Anne's question, but just for you personally, what are some of the gaming industry trends? What are you most excited about?
Overall, one of the things, I thought about this question a little bit. I'm just really glad that the hobby seems to be getting a little bit more back to normal. We went through a really traumatic time during the pandemic, and people were locked up, in a sense. We weren't going to shows. I felt like we were losing our humanity a little bit with the online discussions, the way things were. It's just like we kind of forgot what this was about almost, and I'm seeing ourselves return to that. Going to these conventions, meeting up with your friends again, the love of the hobby and the excitement of what's new. And for me, there's so many board games out there. I have about 700 of them. I've got 50 of them on my shelf of opportunity that just sit there and look at me, and I'm working too much is the problem.
I know all too well. I have the problem, though, that I'm mostly only playing prototypes. So my shelf is constantly staring at me.
Well, I'm always backing the Kickstarters of my friends and stuff, and sometimes I'm not even really wanting any more games. It's not that I don't think their game is good, but, I want to support the community and stuff. But I'm really excited about this new game, Luthier, from Paverson Games, by the way.
It looks really good.
That's on Kickstarter right now, and I love Distilled. And when I saw that game, I went, this is crazy cool production. So I'm a fan of these highly produced games. Like Foundations of Rome is in my top 10. And I know some people think it's overproduced. And I'm
they do. But I would much prefer, I'm all about get the best bits for every game. I would love to have all the things.
Well, and then you put it on our Roman mat, and it's just like, it's the best. But I do get too, it's a little, you got to put a little more financial commitment into it. And sometimes that's hard for folks too.
Definitely.
I know Arcane Wonders, they do the Foundations of Metropolis now, which is kind of a reskin, more affordable, accessible version.
Very much so, using cardboard instead of all the 3D.
Yeah, and you can it'll still be produced well, but not that big dog. Those are the things that I get excited about. I'm less excited about new games in general. Like I don't buy very many games anymore, except, every now and then there's a couple things that I get jazzed
Sure.
about.
All right. So to end this discussion, here's the big one. So what do you think sets Game Toppers apart from other companies in the industry? Obviously, the high-end quality for me is what drew me to these things. But what do you think?
I'm aware of other companies and what they do. And I try honestly to kind of keep my opinions about what other companies are doing to myself. I don't like to negatively sell, tearing someone down or competing in that way is the right way to present our product.
Definitely,
so I like
definitely
to just
well said.
tend to look at what people ask me this question sometimes. They go, well, who's your competition? I know who's making other stuff that competes with us, but I always feel like the competition's me. How do I get better?
How do I get better? I feel that way even with my videos. How can I make this better next time?
Yeah. So I focus on, when we design this company, I mean, this military grade aluminum extrusion, we have probably somewhere around 6,000 Game Toppers out there since we started all over the world. Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Israel, Dubai, all over Europe, Canada, United Kingdom. We're all over the place. It blows my mind. I'm so grateful.
That's so cool.
Scott Alden bought 35 of these toppers from us for Board Game GeekCon. These have gone through like 30 conventions. They have 2 a year, and they've been to Gen Con with these things. They've traveled. They've been put up and down. And those products were bought 7 years ago.
Wow.
We have never had to replace a topper product that's gotten damaged in shipping.
Sure.
And then we fix that for them. But
that just speaks to the high end quality, right? I mean, I still have one of the very original tables and it's still doing quite well.
Well, that's the gig. I want it to be heirloom. And so we're always thinking that way. So, how do we see ourselves different is I think we're providing a product that's very portable. So you have the option now with our leg kits and dining covers to have a full-time gaming solution. So we provide that also, but you've also got the portability of it. You have the high quality, but then I think the big thing is the variability. We use that term in board games a lot. How many times can we play this game? I mean, the options that we offer, our product line is so wide that I've even started to narrow not offering everything on the Kickstarters because there's just too much stuff.
There's so much. Yeah. I mean, you have so many neat things. So,
and you've seen we had a cup holder that had an aluminum cup holder.
Yes.
But they were a pain to haul around and sometimes they get bent or something. They wouldn't accommodate the bigger cups or this big coffee mug wouldn't fit in there, things like that. And so we came up with the new collapsible version. That was a $38,000 mold. To make that innovation. It was the right move with our rubber coasters, that you have these little coasters you can put in the bigger implements, but you can still put your cans in there. We made that indent, but then they flat pack so they fit inside the bag and they're the best.
So nice.
32 different styles of mats in 12 different sizes. We have 6 different sizes of Game Toppers. We added the rail extension. I know you know about this, but you can convert half of your big topper into a mini topper.
Into a mini, right? Yeah, that's so cool.
Watson can be the Hudson, which like we put in the camper. So we make mats for that. And all of the accessories work with that. Then we came up with the Young Sherlock leg kit, movable heavy-duty caster. So you can have a coffee table, children's table, puzzle table, using your same system, not having to buy all new stuff. So I think those are the things, the quality, the variability, the overall expansion into all these solutions that are gaming.
Well, Berkey, thank you so much. Now we're going to move on to one of my favorite segments of the show is the Beyond. Now, this is where we're going to talk about something that's maybe outside the board gamers, but really it's about something that we are excited about. And mine is actually going to play into Game Toppers because I recently was gifted one of the new sets of Legos that are the smaller version of the Millennium Falcon, but I also got the light kit, and that's what I'm really excited about is the light kit. But in general, I would like to see Game Toppers used more and more for Lego builders. Absolutely. But I'm really excited about the lighting kit and how it works with the LEDs and putting it into the Lego as you build it. And, they have its instructions set up where you can put the lights in after the build, but I would rather do it while I'm building, right? So I'm really excited about the lights and to get that rolling, because it's going to be the first kit. And then I also got a lighting kit for my R2-D2, but it actually has sound effects as well. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about those things for sure. But again, I would love to see Game Toppers and Legos do more together.
Especially that young Sherlock topper. I mean,
yes,
for us that are playing on our big table and you want a bunch of space, that's cool too. But for my grandkids, when you asked about what is beyond, one of the things that I'm most excited about is Josiah and Sarah are going to have our 8th grandchild here in
nice.
another 2 to 3, 4 weeks.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we love playing games with our grandkids. And Hannah's kids, when they come over, they run downstairs to play on our young Sherlock table, and they get all of their Lincoln Logs, put them on there, and Philip, he grabs the football
another great use. Lincoln Logs is another great use for that. Just kid toys in general, you know?
Well, and all of the edges of our topper, we did this intentionally when we first designed it. Everything is rounded. There's no sharp corners. I'm super excited about that. I'm super excited about just this season of life right now. I love the summer. I'm a foodie, you know that. I have a spice company, and some of the folks know about my jerky that I bring to conventions.
Your jerky is amazing. Let's touch on that real quick, because the jerky that you make and bring to conventions and hands out, it's so good. So
thanks so much. I used to cook professionally years ago, and so that was one of the things I did. That this is an all seasoning, 14 different seasonings, premium spices. Sweet Hungarian paprika instead of standard paprika. And it just, it's more expensive, but it's better. So that's my always the way I lean. Has some just amazing seasonings, but then I add brown sugar and cumin to this mixture, marinate my meats when I smoke them. And I do that with the jerky or pork butts. And I love creating food. Food is like art to me too. So presentation, when we entertain people, we love having people to our home and we do it up. And then likewise, we have this huge garden. And I built standing garden, elevated garden bins. We have a big herb garden. And then our tomatoes, all the other things. My wife cans a ton of stuff, and everything's producing now. And our garden this year is probably as lush as we've ever seen it.
Great.
Yeah, really excited about all that stuff. So there's one thing in the future that we're working on that has dedicated a lot of my time over this last year, but we're growing. And we have some ideas next year that is going to blow people away. When we get to that reveal, people are going to go, oh my goodness, we thought it was good now.
I can't wait.
It's been a 2-year process, and we've been working with engineers. We have a lot of things going on, but we need a bigger building. And we've been looking at building onto our existing 5,000 square foot, but we're also looking at the possibility of purchasing an 18,000 square foot building.
Wow.
And we're really excited about that, because it speaks to how do we get better? How do we grow? Are we able to do more things? A lot of the board game community is having a hard time doing fulfillment with their products, and we do fulfillment really well.
Yeah,
so with a larger space, we might be able to help people in that regard too.
Oh, that would be great.
There's a lot of things happening beyond what we're doing right now. I'm always thinking 3 to 5 years in the future.
I love that.
And my son, Josiah, manages our logistics internationally, all of our customer service and shipping. And he's brilliant. He's super thoughtful. He cares deeply about the customer experience, just like I do. And each person matters to us. So put a lot of that thought into any decisions we make as a company.
Well, Berkey, thank you so much for being here. And folks, thanks for listening. If you want to subscribe to us on YouTube and all the normal places that you can pick up podcasts, please do so. And follow our show on social media, Roll and Reflect Podcast, and all the different places we do that as well. And we got to give special shout outs for you, Berkey, for being here. I appreciate it greatly. And Laura for doing our timestamps, and to Anne for doing our reflection questions. So all of you, thank you so much. And to all of you out there for listening, we really appreciate it. And so folks, and Berkey, thank you so much again. Until next time, may your games be legendary and your rolls be epic. See ya.
Thanks so much.